Okay, Chris has nodded, Erin. She is at the university today. See if you can get the mic on. Let us know. We'd love to hear you. Excellent. So I met Christina last year when we did a very exciting research project with the USGA, and then we met again at the Tokyo USGA Innovation Symposium in March. So it's nice to keep tabs with the good people in the industry, obviously. I think we're ready to go. Are you guys happy? I've got Natalie here with me from our marketing team, and also Busi, who's our community manager. And then we've got Tom Cox on the line, and TC was trying to, he's from our Atlanta office as well, was trying to check in, and lots of friendly people. So let's get started. Drew, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. Today's session, we're going to shine a light on improving member satisfaction and loyalty for private golf course success. And our expert guest is none other than Drew Dunn, who's a PGA head golf pro at the esteemed Eastlake Golf Club in our hometown, Atlanta. Our office is in Marietta, which is just about half a day's drive away in Atlanta traffic from Eastlake. Drew, thanks so much for joining us. We're delighted to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Drew. So we want to start with a bit of an introduction on Eastlake, and because nobody's ever heard of Eastlake, obviously.
Yeah.
And I know that is a topic that we'll have to hold you back on a bit, because you can talk about Eastlake and clearly one of your passion points for days. So give us the lowdown without mentioning Bobby Jones. No, I'm kidding.
That's going to be tough to do. That's what we're known most for, is being the home golf course of Bobby Jones. He grew up here, played his first round of golf here, played his last round. So that's definitely what we're most famous for. As you can see on the screen there, the golf course was founded in 1908. The club was actually founded 4 years before that in 1904. Tom Bindelow did the original 7-hole design when the course first opened. And then Donald Ross in 1913 eventually finished the golf course and made it 18 holes. So the way the golf course lays now, it's an original Donald Ross design. But we host the Tour Championship every year. It's the final PGA Tour event of the season. We've been the permanent host of that since 2005.
Yes, thanks for relaunching Tiger's career there last year. That was amazing. Well done to you guys.
that was probably the coolest sports moment in any sport that I've ever witnessed. And to have that happen here at Eastlake, a place I come every day and a place that I love, was just really just the neatest thing. I still get chills when I think about it. So that was pretty incredible. But a little bit more about Eastlake. We are a walking only facility. So we require every golfer to use the services of a caddy. Our main man in charge, Tom Cousins, that's just how he thinks the game should be played, and we all agree. So we have a very robust caddy program, over 100 caddies on staff. They're actually employees of the club here at Eastlake, which is very different than most other clubs throughout the country where they're independent contractors. Here at Eastlake, they're employees of the club. So allows us to do some things with them that other places can't do. We can tell them what to wear. We can tell them when to be here. We can train them. That's all things you cannot do if they're independent contractors. So we just feel that provides a better experience to our members and guests.
It seems like that was a good strategy in line with all the recent labor changes and sort of gray areas that golf courses are finding challenging in dealing with these third-party strategies that they've been driving. So it seems like you've bet on the right strategy there, and it certainly shows with regards to the results that you're achieving and the fantastic golf experiences.
Yeah, it's something we've been in front of. It does cost the club a little bit more money to do it that way, as far as payroll taxes and things like that. But we feel it provides a better experience, which is our number one goal, to provide the best golfing experience to anybody that comes through our gates. From the moment they come through the gate to the moment they leave, we want to provide them with the best experience possible. So The other thing about Eastlake that's a little different is we're our own unique animal in the sense that we're about half corporate members and half individuals as far as our membership makeup. So each corporate member that we have, the company is the member, but they can designate 2 individuals to be the members for that company. So
Okay.
A lot of what we see day to day as far as who's playing golf at Eastlake, it's a lot of customer golf. It's a lot of guys that, work for one of our corporate members just because they work for them. We don't consider them the member. And it's them bringing out clients. So it's a lot of people on a day-to-day basis who have not been here, who are not members here. So we have an opportunity every day to meet and impress people with our service and our golf course that a lot of clubs, other private clubs that just see members more day to day, don't have the opportunity to do that like we do.
Sure, that comes with challenges too, because you've got a lot of people that have never played Eastlake before, and you need to introduce them to the club, and obviously you need to manage what are effectively guests with established members that might cruise around the course that they've played for years. So is there a distinct Delta and Coca-Cola flavor in that corporate division, or is it really quite a broad base of corporate members that you have?
It's a pretty broad base, and every single one of our corporate members are large Fortune 500 companies. So they're all companies that you've heard of. The 2 that you just mentioned are members, and then there's investment firms and banks.
Sure.
All large companies. And again, they're just sending out clients of theirs. And it's our job to take care of them and provide them with a world-class golfing experience when they get here.
Fantastic. Thanks, Drew, for the intro. And that's obviously what we had to talk about. How do you do that? What's your top priorities? What's your magic sauce? What I would like to do quickly, and for those on the webinar who don't know Tagmarshal, just do a quick introduction. So we are a golf course efficiencies software that provides clubs like Eastlake, but also many daily fee courses, an opportunity to optimize their on-course experience and to optimize their on-course operations. We have tracked, this is actually dated now, certainly end of the year, it'll be more than 10 million rounds of golf, and there's way over 1 billion data points collected. We work with 200 clubs. In the top, where the nice classy Eastlake logo sits, there's a short list of high-end private clubs that we work with. Your Oak ones, your Hazelteens, your Valhallas. This is very incomplete. The National Golf Links, Winged Foot. It's a fantastic list. And then in the middle, you see your more daily fee resort base. That's your Pebble Beach, your Whistling Straits, your Erin Hills. I mentioned Chris Schoonover from Erin Hills is online, and she's a huge proponent of the player experience and has really made a fantastic impact at Erin Hills, which is, I'm sure that she would sign off on what you just said, Drew, and looking to provide the best possible experience at any time to anyone who comes through the door. There's your Banner Dunes, your Pinus. It's a fantastic list, and what Tom Cox, who's our VP of Sales, calls our brag list. Tom, I don't know if you can unmute yourself, because I know that one of the questions that you always get asked is, this must be a very elite program that you guys are running, and it must be a hell of a pricey too. So I know that you've got your own ideas on how to handle that conversation when it does come up. Tom, are you with me?
Yeah. Thanks, Bodo. It does come up. It comes up in almost every conversation, and we have rapidly added many public and high volume resort courses. But the simplest answer to the golf professional or the director of golf or the committee is, are you not concerned about the playability of your course and how your course is viewed by your guests and customers, and basically customer satisfaction? And while they immediately look at Drew's course or other courses on our brag list, they take the time to say and reflect if they're really serious. Yes, we do care about our customers and the customer satisfaction, member retention, and will they come back? So that's normally the answer. And when they take a minute to sit back, they realize that.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. Obviously, we've got a list of about 150 that fall within that middle of the road bracket. But if you put them on the slide, you would have said, well, I've never heard of these guys. So we're also working with the USGA. I mentioned that we're Chris Gunova and from University of Wisconsin and us crossed paths last year doing a really exciting research study that she then presented with her colleague, Professor Eric Bray at the USGA Innovation Symposium. We work with the European tour. We just did their Wentworth event about a week ago, and a number of associations and organizations. The LPGA is about to tee off today's Signia Tour event at their own course down in Daytona, also all using our technology. So we're very blessed and having some fantastic partners, and obviously many of them are very outspoken in how they're getting results and how it's changing their operation for the better. And one of those is Drew Dunn. So getting back to Drew, and thanks for this rather extended introduction. Drew, at Eastlake, what factors do you rate as being the most important drivers of the golfer experience? What's important to you? And when we spoke previously, you said there's sort of a top 5 for you. Before I unleash you on that, we obviously always interested in what do the players want and what's important to them. So course conditioning comes out tops for players, people that they play with, and who am I playing with? And obviously caddies have got a role to play here that you might want to talk to. Accessibility and tee time availability. Can I play when I want to? Can I get around in? It's sort of a question at private clubs, or there's always peak times that I'm trying to get in, because it's hard to make time for golf in this day and age. And then what's very close to that, just 1% off, is pace and flow of play, as being seen as very important. And I know, Chris, your research confirms that and probably ranks it even higher at the most recent stats there. So Drew, what is important at Eastlake? What are your top 5? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, well, I think first it's important to highlight, that there's different driving factors based on who your golfers are and what type of facility you are. So what's important for us might not necessarily be the same for everybody, but for us, definitely number one is course conditioning. People know that we host a tour event, and they expect when they come here that the golf course is going to be in that condition or close to that condition. So they're paying a lot of money when they come to play here, and we need to provide a product that they expect. And so that's number one for us. Number two is definitely customer service and the interaction they have with our staff members. Because we see a lot of guests, like I was talking about, on a day-to-day basis, everybody's been to that private club where they're not a member and they go as a guest, and they're kind of walking around on eggshells. They don't want to do anything wrong. They want to follow all the policies. And we don't want people to feel like that here.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. I mean, we all do. I've done it, when I go and play other elite clubs, if I wasn't very prepped by whoever was setting me up there on kind of policies and procedures. I've done it before. So, but we don't want anyone to feel like that when they come here. When you come through the gate, we are right up front. When you get up front, we're very welcoming. We greet you by name. We ask you if you've been here before. We show you around the golf club. We want everyone to feel welcome. And we will do whatever we can to take care of you for that day while you're here. What I always say to people after, I've checked them in or whatever we're doing, I say, if there's anything I can do to make your day better, please let me know. And I truly mean that. And I give that message to all of our staff members. If there's anything we can do to make somebody's day better, we're going to do it. And we want to know what that is from the guests. Third on my list is pace of play. Pace of play can just ruin somebody's experience. If you're out on the golf course for 5 hours or even 5.5 or 6 hours, it's not going to be a good experience. So that's number 3 on my list. Number 4 is quality of the facilities and amenities other than the golf course itself. So, your clubhouse, your offerings, locker room, all the small details. Is everything put together? Is it clean? And number 5 would be the food and beverage quality and the offering. So when you look at that list of 5 things, we as the staff of Eastlake, we control 4 out of those 5. golf course condition, customer service, quality of the facilities and amenities, and the food and beverage offering and quality. The one thing we do not control or have immediate control of is pace of play. That's controlled by our members and our guests who are out on the golf course. And so the issue that we had forever was monitoring pace of play. It was a full-time job. You'd have to have people out on the golf course constantly watching. You know, you'd have to have your tee sheet and see what group was what and what time did they tee off. It just took a lot of resources for us to manage that. And that's why we brought Tagmarshal on board. Being a walking only facility, we haven't had the luxury of having GPS systems like all of the other golf courses that use golf carts have had for the last 10 years or so. So I remember I was at the PGA show, I guess it was maybe 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, and I met John Wilmore at your booth, the Tagmarshal booth.
Yes.
He just kind of walked me through. I just walked up and said, hey, tell me what you guys are about. I loved what I heard. And I think, within the next month or so, we had an agreement with you guys, and I believe we were first in state in Georgia to bring you guys on board.
You were indeed, yes. And what's great for us to see is that you're going strong. You're continuing to improve, because obviously our team constantly tracks our partners' performance from a data standpoint, and then you've also upgraded to a new system. But we can talk about that just now. Those are 5 key points, and what I really think stands out here is that you mentioned that you can firmly control 4 of them, and now with the help of technology, you can add that 5th one as well in terms of control, and that really gives you the ability to offer that rounded, guaranteed, consistent service that you renowned for. So Drew, thank you for that. And just to our people on the webinar, if you have any questions for Drew at any time, just type it into the chat box, and we'll look to get to those. Any questions, always welcome. So what I would like to do, and I'm delighted to have Chris on this, because what we want to quickly look at is what does the research say over and above a lot of people understanding that the pace and has a big impact on the player experience. What does the research actually say? So the USGA has got a challenge for the industry as the key industry body that with a mandate that's for the good of the game. And one of them is a 25% reduction in consumption of key resources. What does that mean? By 2025, it means running a smarter operation that uses less operational budget, so that the budgets and the pressure on running the operation doesn't run away and keep on growing, but we want to reduce that. And obviously here's where technology can really help. And then the other side of the coin is a 20% increase in golfer satisfaction. Why should we care about that? Well, because golf's under pressure and needs to defend itself. It needs to evolve and future-proof, so that next generation of players, of potentials, will go and join the game and not rather get on a bicycle or go get a Peloton or go to the gym. But we want them to join the game and feel very welcome in doing it. And one of the key things here is the golfer experience and the player experience. So there's a clear mandate in improving that. And but what does it take? What's important for the experience? And there was some fantastic research that Chris Schoonover and Eric Grave, 2 professors from the University of Wisconsin, have presented and done with a little bit of help from us, because they wanted accurate data and really extensive research. And they Chris, I don't know, I should give you the microphone to talk through this, but listen to the abbreviated version, see if I get it right. But they wanted, and their mandate was to define the golfer experience, because for the USGA, it makes a lot of sense. If we're trying to improve the golfer experience, we need to first understand what it is and what's important to golfers. So there were an incredible 1,000 touch points defined in the golfer experience. And that ranges from engage, so that's Drew and me having a chat, where should we go and play? Let's pick a course where we don't need to walk on eggshells, but where we can grab a beer, because that would be my choice. I'm a younger player and a bit more informal if I have a choice. But that's a conversation. Then eventually you stick your clubs in the trunk. That is a touch point. We book the round. That's a touch point. You arrive, you go through the gate at Eastlake. You're immediately being made felt welcome, and there's somebody to greet you. That's a touch point. All of these are touch points. Then the round of golf. There's many touch points out on the course, and this obviously is key. That is why I go to the club, including little things like, are there restrooms available? Is there signage? Do I know where to go? Am I having a good experience? Am I successful as a player? Am I getting a reasonable score? Is the course set up in a way that's impossible for me to enjoy? The exit, that's checking in at East Lakes Restaurant, seeing the end of a fantastic day that I've just enjoyed with you, whatever signature dish, and hopefully a good Atlanta beer. And then extend would be, and I don't know if you guys do that at Eastlake, the club reaches out and says, thanks for joining us. We hope you had a great time. By the way, we've got this and that tournament coming up, or we hope to see you again soon. So that's extend, and then we start again with engage. And what the research has then classified is all of these touch points were classified in perfect, frustrator, dissatisfier. I don't know if there was a neutral component, satisfied delighter, and perfect delighter. So at the end of it, 1,000 touch points were classified. This makes a golfer really happy, or this makes a golfer really unhappy. Chris, one of the things that we would do here in terms of visualizing this is actually adjust it so that the golf has got much more prominence in this little visualization. Why? Because that is the key reason why this whole thing happens, and also that's where most of the time gets spent. So the point that we're making is that this is really where you can shine in your experience. And Drew, is really interesting that out of the 5 that you're mentioning, one obviously happens out on the course, and that's conditioning. So you're giving people the playing field, but now you need to present that playing field really well. And that is where pace comes into play. Chris, please put up your hand here if you want to chime in. So what they found is that the top scoring and the top rated on the positive end is Ranger etiquette at a top score of whatever that metric is. Positive Ranger etiquette, positive marshal etiquette. And why? Because it's so unexpected. Over the last 100 years, or however long we've deployed marshals, players have not liked that marshal role. They have not liked the marshal placement. The question, does this even work? And corrective pace of play actions is the least liked thing out of this entire experience spectrum. Corrective pace of play actions means the marshal comes over, or somebody comes over and says, hey guys, you're slow. And players are allergic to that, and it makes their blood boil. The conundrum, however, is that other speed is equally bad. So now golf has got a challenge, because golfers don't like to be corrected, or not, at least not in the traditional way, with a marshal that's a policeman, but other speed is highly dissatisfying if that doesn't work out, and if I have to keep waiting on the tee. On the other hand, if the green and the tee, if it's a green tee and open tee and I can just play, I don't have to wait, and overall playing speed is good, that's a super high delight factor. Okay, Chris is saying, you have it correctly stated, time is a commodity, having pressure on all journey points. Yes, time is a commodity, and that is the reason why people play less golf, and why it's more challenging for people to pick up golf and do it properly. Like myself, I've got 2 little boys. For me to find that time is tough. So time and timing is key. So if we can, as an industry, understand that the marshalling is something that's sensitive with players, and time, speed of play is very, very sensitive. So if we're talking about the experience, those are 2 key factors that we need to pay special attention to. And this is why stand-off facilities like Erin Hills and Eastlake, but many others are jumping on this. And we're just featured in the PGA magazine that you guys would see in your pro shop this week. They've dedicated a cover issue, 20-page centerfold on pace of play and modern ways of managing it, because it really is a broader industry topic. Just to quickly finish off, and before we get Drew to talk again, and maybe you've got some input here, Drew. So feeling welcome, if we do that well, and if a flow in the course is well, and if is great, and if we meet on-course staff, that in other research has come out as being really a high net promoter score item. So the net promoter score is a good old question of, would I recommend this product or this service to others? And would I come back and would I promote it? So would I, and if we're doing these things well, and those are all things that you mentioned, Drew, feeling welcome, you're controlling pace of play, and then there's always a positive staff interaction. So high net promoter score, that means everybody who's played at Eastlake is saying, this was great, I loved it, loved my experience, can't wait to go back. And also there's an immediate commercial bonus in that it's a higher percentage visit to the restaurant thereafter. So on the contrary, if we're walking on eggshells, we're not quite made feel welcome. If the flow isn't good, I have to wait. And if I'm not meeting on-course staff in that 4.5 hours that I'm out there, I'm feeling like a little bit lost and it hasn't quite worked out. It's a really low net promoter score. So I'm now very likely to say it really wasn't good. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. I'm not going to go back in a hurry. And maybe it's another reason for me to play less golf, which is not difficult to find these days, given all the time pressures. And also the restaurant percentage visit goes down. So this is some nice research that was presented again that shows if we do those things well, and those are all things that Drew's going to speak about some more, that has a huge benefit to the club and its reputation. Okay, that's enough for me. I want to give Drew the mic again. Using technology to assist the on-course management and play experience, use data to measure performance. How do you guys do that at Eastlake? Like for the people who are on who don't know at all how the technology works, give us a bit of a rundown, and also maybe spend a couple of seconds on talking about the evolution from using the classic system to using the two-way system and how that works. And obviously there's some more screens that we can actually talk to, and we need to talk about lightning. Let's not forget that. Okay, Drew, how does it help you guys? How does it make your life easier? What's the impact on the on-course experience?
Yeah, it's great. So, I mean, the way Tagmarshal, for those who don't know, is we basically have a dashboard or a home screen that has a map of our golf course. And every time a group goes out, we give the caddy one of the Tagmarshal units, and we can see on that map every hole where they are relative to pace. So I have submitted to Tagmarshal per hole time it should take to play that hole, and Tagmarshal tracks that tag and lets me know to the minute where that group stands relative to pace. It also gives me, I can look at it and see every hole where they were relative to pace. So when I pull the map up and the tag is red, that lets me know that the group is behind pace. So I can click on that tag and it will show me for those first 4 holes that they've played where they were on each hole. So if you go back to that last screen, Bodo.
Yeah, I will. Just give me a second. Continue.
Yeah. So if a group had one bad hole, I know they're not necessarily a slow group. They may have, especially, around the Tour Championship when our rough is 2.5 to 3 inches, you can literally throw a golf ball, 20 feet in front of you and spend 1.5 minutes looking for it. So our round times tend to get slower as we get closer to the Tour Championship. So, at this screen that he has up right here, you can see pace trend, and it has a couple of red lines and then some green ones. That is per hole where the group was relative to pace for that hole. So that's the first thing I'll do when I have a slow tag. If I was looking at this screen, obviously tag 10, 27, and 18 are going to be the kind of ones that I'm taking notice of. All the other tags that are green are on pace or under pace. So what we do is now I don't have to have somebody constantly riding the golf course, seeing if there's open holes or seeing if there's somebody behind pace. We just pull this dashboard up. We immediately know where the problem group is. And what we do now that we have the Tagmarshal Generation 2 is we can send a message to the device. And so what we will do, as soon as we see a group is behind pace, we'll send a message to that device that says, our caddies will receive it, and it says, please inform your players they are X minutes, 5 minutes out of position. Please ask them on behalf of the golf staff to move back into position. And that verbiage is actually something I got from you guys, Bodo, and the rest of the Tagmarshal team. people don't like being told that they're slow. No one,
Yes.
They immediately take offense to it. I'm not slow, or we're not slow. But if you tell them they're out of position, everyone says to themselves, "Oh, we can move back into position. That's something we can do." So that's the verbiage
that's
we use.
easy to understand. It's not confrontational, right? But Drew, we as a business, we're constantly learning from operators like yourself, and I have to 100% credit Aaron Hills and Jim from Bodo, who works with Chris, for having figured out that no, you don't walk up to a player and say you're slow, but you're out of position. 100% is Wisconsin trademarked.
Well,
so we're now in a position to really share that with everyone, like many other things that we're learning. So thanks to the Aaron team.
Well, yeah, thanks to Jim and Aaron Hills, because we're all PGA's basically a fraternity, and we all share information. So that's what's great about this webinar and working together is, we find out what works from other people and put it into place in our own facilities.
Perfect. So getting back to the one of the things you mentioned is that you don't have anyone patrolling the course anymore. So that says to me that you have cut down on what would be a traditional marshal or rangers that you might have work on weekends or in shifts, and instead you're relying on the technology to tell you and also preemptively tell you if there's potential challenges out there. You always see the head of the snake. It's very intuitive. And then how do you handle those interactions now that you don't have a dedicated resource, and who on your team goes and does that, and how do they do it? And how much time does it take? Like how much effective time? Because that's one of the questions that Tom gets asked a lot. So we're not advocating getting rid of people, not at all. But what we want to make sure is that staff is utilized and they provide high quality functions. So it seems to make much more sense to have somebody who can do other functions that add value in the service space, and then get them to keep an eye on the course as well, so they can go out and assist where necessary. So how do you guys do that at Eastlake, and would you confirm that you've been able to reduce labor requirements?
So what we've always had our PGA professionals ranger the golf course and ride around the golf course. So it's not, we've never had marshals or just people that their only job is to marshal the golf course. But what it's allowed us to do is, now that we don't have to have a golf staff member constantly on the golf course, is it allows us to provide better service in other areas of the club. When guests are arriving or when they're in the golf shop, we're better staff in other areas now and can provide better service. So what I said, we'll send a message to the vice if the group does not pick up their pace after that. One of our staff members will ride out on the golf course. The group has gotten a message, so they know why we're out there when they see us coming. And the way we interact is, the first thing I say every time is, gentlemen or ladies, are you guys enjoying yourselves? And that's the number one thing I want to make sure. And they'll say, oh yeah, we're having a great time. Half the time they'll say, are we behind pace? I don't even have to say anything. But if they don't, I'll just say, well, you guys are about 6 minutes out of position. If you wouldn't mind trying to move back into position, we would greatly appreciate it. And everyone is very receptive to that. Nobody wants to be the slow group.
Sure.
And when they understand, when you let them know there's an expectation, they're more than willing to comply with that and stay within that expectation. So that's how we handle it, is we send a member of the professional staff out, because it is a very sensitive interaction amongst you and the guest.
It is. And just going back to what the research says, in that it's probably the least liked a function on the golf course, according to golfers, and having that marshal interaction. I've spoken to somebody recently who said he routinely tips the marshal $20 before the round, just so they leave him at peace. So that is one way, but obviously it's not supposed to be like that. And the truth is that golf has had a bit of a grudge requirement before technology was available, because you needed to do something. And obviously you at Eastlake do not have the time to patrol the course all the time. So a lot of courses would resort to, let's get low cost resource out there? Who can we get? You know, some retired person, a retired cop, a retired US Marine, whoever that is. It's a person that is a policing function and they're not service minded. And now you're giving them the power to go and shout at people. That is not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, one of the things that is highly rated, and Chris has just sent through a chat that she has to go through to her customer experience lecture, and at the university she says, cheers. One of the things that they found out is that beer angels, the beer cart, the beer girls, are well liked on the course. So that begs the question: should we not consider making the marshal a role that is as well liked as that? It's a player assistance role, and could it not be a girl bringing the message? You know, like I'm jesting here, but we need to think differently about this, and then obviously technology helps makes that much easier. So one of the things that one of the questions that's come up, and you spoke about expectations, and here's a question from Duncan. Drew, you mentioned that you have a large number of guests. How do you communicate to them what your pace expectations are? Do you leave the responsibility to keeping pace and in position largely to your caddies, or is it something that there's also at the starter or the caddy sort of lays down the expectation, or is it something that just flows and you're trusting your caddies to do that?
It really depends on the kind of day we have. So when we have very, very busy days, which is in the spring and the fall is our busiest season, we'll actually have a golf staff member on the first tee to welcome everybody. And in that case, that is where we will inform the guests, hey, all of your caddies are carrying a GPS tracker. It can show you where you are relative to pace throughout your round. Just ask them. If you fall behind pace, you know, a member of our staff will ride out and politely ask you to pick it up. So on the first tee there, and then on days when we do not have somebody on the first tee starting people, yeah, it does rely on our caddies. And for our caddies, time is money. You know, the less time they're out on the golf course, the more money they're making. So they want to get done as fast as possible. And they will explain to their players, hey, gentlemen, I have a Tagmarshal here that tracks our pace. If we fall behind pace, I'll let you guys know, and we can pick it up, or in that sense. So we do rely heavily on our caddies. And the beauty of Tagmarshal for our caddy program especially is the caddy is no longer the bad guy. We've always said that, you know, we have an employee or two employees in every group that should be able to help us control pace. But, you know, historically, they don't want to say anything to their players, hey, guys, we need to pick it up or slow, because they don't want to hurt their tip.
Sure.
And so now what they can do is show the device, especially when we send a message to it. It's the golf staff sending that message, asking the group to pick it up. It's not the caddy. So now the caddy is just the messenger. The players understand that this is not coming from the caddy. It's coming from the clubhouse or the golf staff. And so they're much more in tune to help keep pace of play going, because they understand that the golfer knows it's not them. It's coming from the clubhouse.
If I can just forward that thinking, so what would happen at a club that doesn't have a caddy is the system, and here you can see, would give you an accurate dynamic pace status, and the colors change in line with what Drew sees on the map. So if you're going purple, that means you're holding up others. If you're orange, that means the group in front of you, or two or three groups in front of you, is holding you up. So maybe you're out of position, but it's not your fault. And that gets communicated by the system to the player, so they can then self-manage. And also the system can generate an auto alert. It's like, okay, are you looking at me because you are now 5, 8, 10 minutes out of position, and we need you to go back in position if you can. If you need any help, let us know, talk to the pro shop. So that two-way communication we can talk about just now. There's one more point I wanted to just add. You mentioned that the caddies, they're obviously in charge of the experience and they don't want to hurt their tip. Now, this also can be transferred onto the pro or the player assistant, or the pro that's going out and looking after the pace. So often a pro might be mindful of having a potentially confrontational conversation with the golfer, because it could hurt them in their relationship with that player and the lessons they might or might not take with them. And that is very sensitive. And again, here the system helps. The pro can just say, look, according to the system, according to the data, you're a bit out of position. It's a very, very different conversation than saying, hey guys, you're slow. And the player says, no, what do you mean? I'm slow in the head. What I'm not slow. I'm not a slow person. Don't insult me. So that is where things get out of hand very quickly, and it's tough to manage. And also it's opinion based. And the player's opinion of their position is very different to the managers or the marshals or whoever. So the moment you've got data in play, and that's obviously the benefit that you guys have had now for a long time, it's a very level, non-confrontational conversation that everybody can agree on. It's an easy instruction. Let's get back in position. No problem. We'll do that. One of the things I wanted to talk about, sorry to interrupt you there, Drew. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's great to have specific time that they're over pace. You know, if you can write out and say you're 9 minutes or you're 4 minutes, you're right. That does help a lot. The specifics of it are one thing that we love here. Nice.
We need to talk about lightning, because I know that my chance in my lifetime to be struck by lightning, I read this up the other day, apparently is 1 in 7,000, which seems extremely high, but I think in Atlanta it's probably twice as high. Case in point, at the Tour Championship where Rory famously won a couple of dollars a couple of weeks ago, you had a lightning incident. So lightning is part of your day-to-day. So how does the system help you when it comes to player safety?
Especially in the summertime here, afternoon thunder showers are almost a given. At least 3 or 4 days a week, you'll get pop-up storm that has heavy lightning in it. And so Eastlake does have a siren on top of the clubhouse that we blow when lightning is in the air. We do have a lightning prediction system that we use as well. But what we can do is in 2 ways. One, we can send a message to each device before the storm gets here or before we sound the siren, just letting people know, kind of giving them a heads up, hey, severe weather is approaching, be alert, look for future messages. But what's fantastic for us now is when we do blow the siren and we have to evacuate the golf course, I can pull up that Tagmarshal map and I know exactly where every single group is on the golf course. Whereas previously we would have to get in our 6-seater golf carts and drive aimlessly around the golf course looking for groups, seeing if they're in shelters. Now I know exactly where everyone is, so we can hop in our shuttles or in our cars, get out on the golf course, pick those groups up, and bring them back into safety. So it's a much more efficient operation for us when it comes to player safety.
So you used to risk your life to keep your members safe. That's whatever it takes.
That's what we all do in this business.
Here's one system function that we know that obviously a person like Drew is very busy, and the prime mandate for you is to provide the best customer experience. You can't be sitting in a control room and checking maps and live play all the time. So we've got a system that actually generates alerts that go straight to your phone. That is also something that helps the tags that every now and then one might wander off, and then there's a geofence that says, hey, there's a tag about to leave and going into the parking area. Let's make sure that we get it back. And one of the things that we're showing here too, and I'm sure that's something that you look at here or there, is a track map. So every single round that gets played at Eastlake has got a track map and a history that you can look at, where you can then see if there's ever a question of how did the day go, how did the round go. It gives you that information to have an information-based and a data-based conversation. And I'm sure that there's no tempers flaring around pace at Eastlake, but they are. And there's 450 million rounds of golf played every year in the US. There are tempers flaring at courses every week around this topic. So that's not something that happens at Eastlake. I'm sure that wasn't the case before, but because you've got data and you've got information.
And there's so many ways you can use that data too. You know, if we looked at every single round and we looked at it and said, wow, every single group was behind pace when they played number 6 today. Hey, where was the pin on number 6 today? Oh, well, it was on the front on that slope. Well, we know, hey, man, that's not a good pin location for us to have on a busy day when we've got lots of groups. We need to put it in a different location on the green to help speed up pace of play. So you can really use the data in so many more ways that I'm sure I haven't even thought of.
That's some great insight. So Drew, what we're looking here is a month of data at Eastlack. And this happens the month of August, which we obviously picked on purpose. There's a nice gap in here because that's when the PGA takes over and kicks you off your own course. But what it shows is that the data gets tracked. Your average round time is 424, and you want to play for 430. So that's a check. Well done. Then more than half of your rounds are on pace, and another 13% are within 10 minutes. So there's hardly any rounds that are delaying. So that speaks to you guys having a really good handle on this. But as you mentioned, your hole number 10, in that time frame at least, played a bit over your expectation. And then you can obviously drill down day by day. You can see what was the weather. Maybe there was some weather impact. And you can then also look at an individual day and how did the individual tee times perform? Are we keeping our interval in check? So those are all the things that you're mentioning, that the data can be used in many ways. And that's obviously one of the key tools that we're providing. So you're not flying blind, but you've got information that helps you improve. And it comes down to playability, awareness of staff, awareness of your greenkeepers too. What's coming in? How busy is our day tomorrow? Let's set it up as less of a challenge, was more of a challenge. So it just informs your operations. And then one of the things that on the back of this data, that brings us to the last point, is the player response. I know, and Tom, you've been to the Eastlack AGM. I think Tom is trying to become a member.
Yep, I'm still here.
You experience how Eastlack and how Drew is using the reporting to also inform the membership. Drew, you spoke about before and after. You spoke about caddies at messengers. You mentioned that you feel it's modernized and improved. Tell us a bit about how the members have received it, because that's obviously key to anyone considering getting technology on board at a club. What are the members going to say? Are they going to like it? Because those are the people that you're serving ultimately.
Yeah, it's pace of play was something that our members, I don't want to say complained about, but emphasized was an importance to us 5-6 years ago. They thought it was starting to slip and become an issue. So we do an annual member dinner every year in February where we kind of review the previous year and talk about club initiatives. And so in the presentation this year, or last year, we had a slide about Tagmarshal and letting them know our caddies were going to be carrying it. We were going to be tracking pace and everything that we could do with it. And it actually got a round of applause, which I was not I was not expecting. But literally the entire room started applauding when they found out we were doing that. So it's overwhelmingly accepted by all of our members. Like I said, nobody wants to be the slow group, and now the members understand that we are doing something. They said, hey, this is an issue. We said, okay, we're going to look into it. This is our solution. This is what we're doing. And it is a modernized approach. Technology is evolving. And if you sit by the wayside and don't adapt to it, I think you're going to be left behind. And what I like about it is, we're a very traditional classic golf club. And what we try to do is adopt technology that we can use behind the scenes that does not really affect how our members and guests see that we operate. They see that we're still a traditional classic golf club, but behind the scenes, we're using modern technology to help improve our efficiency.
I think that is a really good strategy for any golf club out there that doesn't want to turn themselves into a Top Golf. Tom, I know that you've had conversations with members on the back of that, and some people actually asked more questions and wanted to know more, and were very complimentary.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, and I saw it at the caddy meeting that Drew graciously asked me to talk at, the caddies get it. And, that it's like Drew's got one more arm of management out on the course that he didn't necessarily have or would had to have funded in the past, because the caddies have certainly bought into the fact that they're not the bad guy. And I love, Drew, as you showed that the message that, don't shoot the messenger, just look at the message. And they've bought into it. They're seeing, they're getting more rounds. And so it's given Drew, if they've got, if the course is filled, he's got 18 helpers out on the course.
Yeah, and it definitely, if I can interrupt, there was some education with the caddies that we had to do, because the initial feeling that they had was, oh, they're tracking me, right? Like they have a GPS, they want to know where I go, and we had to let them know that, hey, no, this is not so we can track you, the caddy. It's so that we can get your group through the golf course more efficiently. And once they understood that, and once they realized that, hey, this is actually going to help me play a faster round and get out of here quicker, they were all in.
Very true.
Fantastic. So just to add to this, so there's two, before I ask you about the curious incident, Drew, I'm waiting for that one. But there's one director of golf that we work with, and he explains Tagmarshal to any player who wants to know. He says, well, I've got a marshal with every group. And they're like, how? Well, here it is, it clips onto your golf bag. There you go. Or it's installed in the cart. So that's a very easy way to explain it. But again, like, we want to, even though marshal is in our name, we want to really turn that function on its head and make it something positive, much like we believe that the pace is a massive opportunity for golf to future-proof and to provide that better experience that the USGA has mandated and challenged the industry with. Curious incident. So we know, and Chris, unfortunately, she's left, but Jim told us that there was a lightning storm at Erin Hills, and they have the classic system, and then somebody wanted to, once the storm had cleared, go out and finish the round, whatever the cost. And then this person had to run to the airport and fly back to LA, and they forgot to take the tag off, and all the notification systems we had in place failed because this person basically floored it back down to Milwaukee. And then they tracked the tag to the person's lounge in his LA home, and then eventually phoned him because they knew, okay, this person is carrying the tag. And they said, Mr. So-and-so, we believe you're out of position in your lounge right now, playing the 19th hole of Erin. And the guy packs up laughing, oh, sorry, I forgot. And he sent the tag back. And then we had one of the two-ways end up in a lake at one of our Dutch courses. Somebody lost control, where they were angry with the red mist of having played some bad shots and just pushed their little trolley down the hill, or if they lost control, we don't know. But it was in a murky lake in wintry Amsterdam, and it took about an hour to rescue the bag. The bag was muddy. The iPhone of the person was toast. And the two-way unit said, would you like to continue your round? Because these things are a hell of a sturdy. They're military grade. And I know that you guys have done your own test, and that's a curious incident. You guys have done your own test with the unit, but it didn't go as well.
It was a accidental test, you could say. These units are very reliable. They're durable. The battery life is great. I can send it out twice without charging it, so it can do 36 holes. But I can confirm that they are not lawnmower proof. One of our caddies, it fell out of his pocket, and we were mowing the rough behind the group, and the rough mower ran over it and destroyed it. So don't try to test it against a lawnmower, because it's not going to work.
Not recommended. Drew, thank you so much for the very insightful session. It's been an absolute pleasure. Any more questions? You've answered. And given us some fantastic insight. Any more questions of the people who are live? And obviously, we don't want to be out of position as far as our pace is concerned, given that that's our mandate to speed things up in the industry. Any questions, shout now. We will share this recording with all of you, and also with the many people who said, I'm interested, but I couldn't make it. And then we've got another few webinars lined up for the end of the year. And like Drew said, if you're at the PGA show, come and see us. Whether you're an existing customer or you're interested, we'd love to meet you. And there's many existing partners of ours, like Drew, like the team from Erin, and many others that come and check in. And we normally do a bit of a data report with them. And that's a great opportunity for you to ask questions of them at that point. And there's also, there's certainly some drinks and a bit of festivity where Tagmarshal is. No spotted cow, though. That's not allowed outside of at Wisconsin, we're told. Drew, I'm not seeing any questions pop up, so thank you so much again for your time. Tom, thanks for making the time. I know you're cruising around Georgia at the moment. Where are you today?
Actually heading down towards Lake Oconee in a little bit. So, Drew, thank you again. We'll set something up for you next week and, get through the Tiger game this week with Florida.
Yeah. War Eagle, go Tigers. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks. It's been good,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
And I hope everybody learned something from it. And I would, Tagmarshal just helps us in so many ways. It's hard to put it in a 45-minute session.
Fantastic. Thanks, Drew. All the best. And we'll see you soon on my next visit to Atlanta, which is end of the month. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll see you guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.